Welcome to Magic and the City, with me, author and podcaster Carrie Parker. This is the podcast where we talk about the magical every day, celebrating those moments when something truly magical has happened in our lives, and taking time to acknowledge that magic and magical things do exist, and that these wide-eyed moments of wonder are not something we left behind in our childhoods. They are present now in our adult lives, but maybe we don't see them for the magic they truly are. Every episode, I ask a very special guest to discuss 3 magic moments and how they shaped their lives to where they are now. So, please join us as I wave my magic wand and sprinkle some fairy dust on your day. Let's be magical together. Welcome to this week's podcast, where I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Claire Gillard. So, Claire is a crystal guru and is the owner of the online business Dusty Pink Angels. Who better to have on my first podcast about magic, but someone who is surrounded by magic and lives by magic every day. I found your lovely shop during lockdown and have bought quite a few items from it. You got into crystals from an early age, from your grandmother.
Yes.
And then when you started your working life, you had an opportunity where you were made redundant and you used your redundancy money to make an investment to buy crystals.
Yes.
And that started your online shop, and it just took off because the environment for selling crystals, I mean, during lockdown especially, it went crazy, didn't it? People were buying crystals. And here we are today. You are a self-made woman. You have your own house and you're self-sufficient and you have this wonderful, thriving business. And I really wanted to talk to you about the 3 things in your life which are magic. What has happened in your life that has been truly everyday wonderful magic?
Well, I've had my crystal business for 10 years now, so I had it about 5 years before lockdown happened. But in lockdown, it was a really scary time because we had a little shop at the time. And then when lockdown happened, I remember going into a state of panic thinking, what's going to happen to our business and how will it all work? And it did just absolutely explode because everybody was at home. We did more lives. We got DPD to collect from our homes to send the parcels out. We got lots of orders being dropped off at our house. So it kind of worked well, and it meant that I had a lot more time to invest in the business because I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't actually make any banana cake. I just was working on crystals. I wish actually I would have known about TikTok when we were in lockdown because I think that would have exploded even more. But we were busy. In fact, we were too busy with the work we had from Facebook and Instagram, to be honest. So yeah, I got into crystals when I was about 6 or 7 because my grandma at the time wore a tiger's eye ring and she had a Buddha. And every time she walked past the Buddha, she rubbed its head and tummy and taught me about that. And then she went on to win the bingo, which was the equivalent of the lottery, because we didn't have the lottery then. So there was 2 callers that called, and she won 44,000. That was like 30 something years ago, so it was quite a lot of money then.
Wow.
And my dad always sort of said law of attraction things to me. So with my grandma having crystals and Buddhas and my dad telling me about when you dress smart, you act smart, and then you think smart, and he was into that kind of mentality. So I had it around me, but other than that, there wasn't really any social media in those days. And where I'm from, a council estate, it was, people didn't believe in spirituality, religion, the universe, nothing. But my brother died, and I think that was really my next sort of connection to angels because I had to believe in something and I had to have some comfort somewhere. So I really got that from believing in angels and having that belief. And I think that's the key, is having a belief and a focus in something that you can believe in, because without that faith and belief, you do get lost. So I feel like I got a lot of comfort from that magical aspect of angels and believing in the magic that they can offer and bring into your life. So I always used to collect angels. And then there was a little shop in Leicester that was I used to call it the Jesus Christ shop, because it was run by nuns for a church, but I'm not religious, so I just liked going in there. I liked the smell of the incense, because that's something that I never had. So the smell, the essential oils, the calmness that you felt when you walked in, I really loved all of that. And I used to buy a few little things, and I loved the holy water was cleansing. So every couple of weeks I'd go in there and just have a look around, talk to the sisters in there, found it all fascinating. And then I worked with a white witch in one of my jobs, and she gave me some crystals. And my mum liked spirituality as well. And then I started collecting crystals, and really, like, when you start to open up to them, it can start very little, like a little seed. And then it starts to open up and open up and open up, and you get more opportunities where you find a shop or somebody spiritual, or you find a crystal. So yeah, I started a crystal collection and reading angel cards, and this was honestly 20 something years ago. So then people thought I was a bit batshit crazy, but I loved it anyway. And I got a sense that although people thought it was crazy, that was their conditioning, because it was something new and different. So their go-to response was, wow, that's a bit crazy. Although they all had an interest in it and wanted to find out more. Because we've lost a lot of belief and magic and faith along the last, how many years. So I feel like some people want to believe in something and have something magical in their life. You go from being a little girl or a little boy and believing in the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus. Then you work out that that's not true, and then you're like, oh. So then it's nice when you get to an adult and you think, oh, actually, there is still magic out there, because why are these crystals around? And why do so many people have angel stories and ghost stories? And how come there's so many coincidences or, deja vu? And what's beyond space? And how did we get here? So there is a lot of questions that people can't answer. There's a lot of science that you can't put together. There's a lot of things out there that don't make sense, that don't add up. So there is magic out there, and I think these crystals are something physical that say, well, hold on, why are they in the earth? How are these beautiful, gorgeous crystals in the earth? What are they doing there? What was their purpose? What are they for? Are they just these gorgeous jewels buried thousands and thousands of feet in the ground? For why? What are they for? So what they've got to have a purpose, because everything on this earth has a purpose and a meaning. There's food, there's everything that we need is on the earth. So these crystals are what we need, but we just don't have enough science. So we understand that food that we can farm is to eat for our survival, but equally I feel like crystals are for our soul and our energy and an emotional support, because we need the sun, the sea, the weather, the food. We've worked that out why we need those things, but we just haven't got to a stage where we've worked out scientifically what crystals are for. But that's not to say that because there isn't a scientific explanation that they don't work, because there's been documented back before Christ that people have been found in tombs, like the Egyptians, holding crystals. And I think we've found people even in Cornwall holding amber from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Well, they used to decorate their swords, and they used to decorate their shields with certain crystals for protection.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So they're in history. We've used them for millions of years. We've used them as medicine, we've used them as jewels, we've used them just because they're pretty and they look nice. And for whatever the reason why you like crystals, you believe in crystals, you're drawn to crystals, there's 1,000 reasons why, but it's just not scientific. But a lot of things are not scientific. But if they make you feel good, if it's a placebo, if it's got healing energy, if it's making you feel good, you need to hold on to it and just incorporate it into your life. Wear it as jewellery, pop them under your pillow, have them as decoration. If they're, for whatever reason, they're bringing you joy and happiness, do more of that, because this life at the moment, everywhere I turn, there's doom and gloom. But these crystals are so beautiful and pretty. They just bring some sparkle and happiness and joy into your world. So I've gone off topic. What was the
You
question?
have. I was going to say, is that the answer to one of your first magic thing is crystals? You've used that one up already. No,
Yeah,
yeah.
crystals. Finding. Well, I
What's
went in.
your first piece of magic, everyday magic in your
Oh,
life?
I've got so many. There's so many that I can't even. I'd need
You
10
only have
years.
three. Three is the magic number, Claire.
Yeah, so one of the most significant parts, the one biggie that I can, everything else would probably not make sense without a backstory, but this one instance when I was basically nearly homeless, honestly, honest to God, nearly homeless, and I didn't have a job per se. I was just starting out my crystal journey, so I was like a sole trader, but I had two tiny children. One was 7 and one was just 2. So to go out to work was really difficult, to have two children and be able to afford childcare, and how I was going to get them to childcare and to hold a full-time job.
Mhm.
And every job that I could kind of get wouldn't afford the for Hudson's nursery place. That would be all my money swallowed up. So I was like, wow, where am I going to live? What am I going to do? So I did out of desperation speak to the moon, and I was like, moon, in order for my life to go right, I need X amount of money to facilitate everything and to pay for a home, to pay for nursery, to pay the bills. I need this amount of money. And I kid you not, the next month I did it. I hit that figure the next month that allowed me to be able to afford my own rent, childcare, the business rent, everything,
Yeah.
the stock,
Yeah.
everything that I needed. It was a massive figure. If you think about all the things that you have to pay for in a business and for a home on your own, starting from scratch. So that's no support from my children's dad, no support anywhere. It was literally just got to make this work. So speaking to the moon, I remember it to this day exactly how I just looked at it. Was a full moon, and I looked out of my window and I opened the window and I was like, please, moon, I need this. And I think because when you're manifesting as well, it can't just be a thought in your brain. It has to come from your heart. It has to come from
Yeah.
every fibre of your body. And with all of that charged energy, passion, aching, and I was like sink or swim. And I think the moon responded and helped me. And I knew that I was going to put in the hard work because I just, there's no other explanation how you can go from next to nothing to such a large amount of money in 1 month. So that is magic.
The
And
power of the mind, I think, is complete magic.
at the heart and the moon energy, the two connecting, and then you've got a magical explosion. So then
Yeah.
I went to view a property, and no other properties in my price range I liked. I just couldn't envision myself living there. I was really feeling like my family unit had broken down, my home, my family. I was on my own with two children. It was so overwhelming. It was so scary because that wasn't my choice, and I never thought that I'd be in that vulnerable position. That's it, vulnerable, like really vulnerable with
Yeah.
nothing, like really petrifying. Like, how am I going to do all of this? Like, my whole world turned upside down. And I didn't really want to leave the home that I was in. And none of the other houses that I was looking at was like, I was just crying and so sad. Like, I can't believe I'm in this situation. I don't know how to get myself out of it. And I felt like a little bit suffocated and trapped because I couldn't just go and make loads of money because I had two children to think about and care for.
Yeah.
So it puts you in a really, really difficult situation. So I found a cottage that was beautiful. It was all empty. It'd been empty for a few months and it had come on the market. And it was a bit further away than I would have liked to have been. And it was out of my price range because, let's face it, I had no income at this point. And I went there and I opened the cupboard. You know when you're just looking around, you just open the kitchen cupboard and you think, oh, I don't even know why you do that when you walk around a house, because what does it matter what the cupboard size and the kitchen is, because it's the home, isn't it, the space. But I opened this one cupboard, and inside the cupboard there was one cup in a saucer, and I am a tea addict. And inside the cupboard there was a cup, and it said "To Claire" on it. To Claire. Spelt the same way my name is spelt, Claire. And at that moment, I knew that was a sign from the universe, from my angels, from the crystals, all of that energy combined, telling me it's going to be all right, you're going to be okay, go for this house. And the rest will fall into place. Sometimes the universe gives you messages. And when you work with crystals, it sort of helps the messages that you receive from your angels and the universe become clearer. We're all given signs and guidance, but we live in such a fast pace of life that we miss the signs. We miss the little synchronicities. We miss messages that the universe is trying to give. You know, when people say, I didn't get any messages, no one guides me, I don't know, nothing like that happens to me. But are you open to receive them? Are you really looking with your third eye? So I feel like my granddad and my brother, who are my guardian angels, really did. I needed somebody to hold my hand and say, you're going to be okay, take this risk, do this. And I know it's scary, and I know it's out of your price range, and I know you're on your own, but that cup just meant that it was all going to be okay, and I was on the right path.
That's validation.
How many people walk into a house and view a property, and there's a cup in the cupboard with their name on? So for that, I was like, oh my God, it's just a sign. So that was my second very magical moment. And then when I broke up with my ex, now I did find a girl naked in the loft, which is absolutely,
that's very Bridget Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, just, you know, as you do. And I'm sure I used to wear a labradorite pendant, and I used to always rub it, and I'm sure it was just making me strong. It was making me really alert and aware, and not just be naive and live in a bubble and be blinkered. It was really starting to make me powerful. And you know, when you come into your strength and you feel like, I'm confident, I'm strong, I'm not going mad, I do know the energy shift in my relationship, and I know something's not right. And every day I was getting more and more like brave and strong and confident. And it was that labradorite crystal. So I had an argument with my ex because 1,000 things. He just wasn't really committed to the relationship or the children. He was very selfish, I was like the maid doing everything. There was no real communication. So it was always bickering and arguing. And this one night, he said he'd gone out with his friends. But I really had a weird sensation. You know, you just know. Your sixth sense and your instinct and your intuition just kicks in, doesn't it? And when he'd come home, I was folding his clothes up, and the receipt fell out of his pocket. And it said 2 covers. And I used to work in a restaurant. I know what 2 covers means. It means there's only 2 of you. And you've only paid for 2 people. And the next day I rang the restaurant and I pretended to be the girl that he was with. Like double called their bluff, because I didn't know at this point that he actually was. He told me he'd been out with his friends. And she was like, oh yeah, I remember. You were sitting at table whatever in the corner. I said, was anyone else there, or was it just me and him? Because I feel like my drink's been spiked, because I had to come up with an explanation why I want confirmation that it was just the 2 of them. And she said, oh no, it was just you 2 sitting there. Oh, so the adrenaline and the fire. I was like, oh my God. So he had been out with her for just a nice meal for those 2. So all those months leading up to that, when that labradorite was really calling me to wear it and connect to the energy, was because it wanted to make me aware of this situation. And sometimes these situations we sometimes try to avoid or not see, or just brush it under the carpet, but it's not going to do yourself any favours moving forward. I think I needed to see it with my own eyes in order to believe it, because he would have just said, you're going mad, you're wrong, that's not right, and I'd double question myself and thought it was me. But anyway, after that argument, when I confronted him about going to the restaurant with the girl, I was like, I just need to get out of here. So I packed an overnight bag for me and the children, and I drove to my dad's house, and we was living in Bristol at the time, and my dad lived in Leicester, so it was like a 2.5 hour trip. But I only took a bag. I only had enough brain space to take a couple of things for me and the children. And that the next day, he sent me a solicitor's letter to say that he's not given me permission to leave the house or take the children out of school. And he demands me to return home for Christmas. And everyone was like, Claire, you're going mad. Like, you can't just leave your family home and take the children. He's done nothing wrong. He was like, I can't believe you rang the restaurant and said that. I was there with 2 of my friends and one of their girlfriends. So even at that point, I was like, oh my God. He's like, I love you. I've done nothing wrong. Please come home. So I was like, oh my God, maybe the restaurant got it wrong. Went to bed that night. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I thought, something has woken me up like out of a. I was wide awake, not even half asleep. I was like, like I sat up in bed and was like, and the boys were asleep. This is December in the middle of the night, freezing cold. It was something like the 22nd of December, and something was telling me, get home now. You need to get home. And I was like, I can't just drive at 4 o'clock in the morning all the way to Bristol from Leicester with 2 children. And I had this adrenaline. I was like, just, if any time to listen to your instinct or your intuition, it is now. You've got to act now. So I quickly got dressed, quickly made the, Hudson was only 1, so I made him a milk, baby milk, and I made Teo a hot chocolate in his baby beaker, creeping around. So I thought, if I disturb my dad, he's going to say, you're not leaving at 4 in the morning with 2 children, get into bed. So I was being really quiet, got into the car, I needed petrol. I was like, oh my God. And then I bombed it back from Leicester to Bristol, and every speed camera flashed me on the motorway as I was bombing it back with I couldn't get there quick enough. I just know I need to get there. Pulled up on the drive, and in my head I was thinking, if he's not at home, then where is he? And if he is at home and I've got this all wrong, I'm just going to have to say I'm sorry. So if his car's there, that's going to be great because it means he's home and he's probably just watched the football and had a Chinese and he's heartbroken that we're not there. So his car was there. But when I put my key in the door was locked. I thought, why would he lock the door? We never lock the door like that. So I was knocking on the door and he came running down with his boxer shorts on. This is 6 o'clock in the morning now, or about 6:15. And he ran back up the stairs and then ran back down with a towel to put a towel round his boxers. Why would he do that? So anyway, he said, what are you doing back here? I said, well, I do live here. My shoes were still at the door. My handbag was still over there for the stairs. Hudson's pushchairs were still in the hallway. Because I remember I didn't take any pushchairs or travel cot or anything. So I thought what I'll do is I'll just say I'm coming back to get a pushchair and a travel cot and some more clothes. And so I gave him the baby. He said, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going upstairs. So I went past my bedroom, which was all the bed was made up, completely made up. And I've only just walked through the door. So I walked to the top of the house where the eaves are, because I said I'm coming to get the travel cot, which I wasn't. But the travel cot was in the eaves. So I didn't stop for a cup of tea, have a wee. I just thought I just need to get straight upstairs to the eaves. And as I opened the door to the eaves to pretend to get the travel cot, the girl was standing there like that, like with holding her naked body. And I was like, so he slept in the toy room on the top floor, and when he knew I would come home, he ran up the stairs and flung her into the eaves. And I was like, have I manifested this? Have I been thinking all of this time he's been cheating on me and I've made this happen? Am I hallucinating? Or is this really happening? Because he told me nothing was going on, and he's even went to the trouble to write me a solicitor's letter to come home. And had I have left Leicester at 10 o'clock in the morning and woken up and had breakfast and then decided to drive home, the chances of her being there still would have been very slim. She would have got up and probably have gone by that point, or she just wouldn't have been there. So it was critical that I got there at that time to catch them that early in my family home.
Yeah.
So and to this day, he will even say he thinks that one of the neighbours put her car at the end of the street and walked there. So he was like, how did you know she was there? Because he said, have you got hidden cameras in the house, or did one of the neighbours ring you at 4 o'clock in the morning? I was like, no, I just knew. Some force, some energy made me know. So for that to happen and for me to act upon it, to believe in myself, to act upon it, was like a powerful thing. So some people might think they know something but never catch the person out. But for me, because I feel like my crystals and me are all in alignment, it gives you that comfort to believe in your own intuition and your instinct. So a good job I did act on it, because I would have never have seen it. And I mean, sometimes you need to see things to believe it, don't you? So that was quite a magical, well, I wouldn't say happy magical, but very crazy time in my life. So yeah, and
But
then he then started dating this other girl, and I had a car on finance that he financed for me because I was
yeah,
basically a housewife at this point, having two children. I'd moved to Bristol with him for his work, and I was like looking after the children and selling a few crystals on the side. I'm just getting into it then, and then when we split up and I'd moved into a house that we let out at the time, he was like, well, I need the car back. And I was like, well, I'm not working and I'm looking after the children, so you're just going to have to sup it up until the Hudson's at school and I can work. No, I need the car back. I need the car back. I'm not paying for your lifestyle. I was like, oh my God, but I had a little bit of savings and I thought, and I can't get a car on finance, can I? Because I'm not in employment. But I need a car to get around with the boys. So I went to a car dealership and they sourced me a little Mini, which was really cute and really nice. It was only a few months old. And I was like, well, what I'll have to do is use my savings to buy the car because I don't think I'm going to get any finance because I'm not in employment. So this is my last magical thing that happened. So I was like, oh, I really hope the finance goes through. I don't know how it's going to go through, but I really hope it does somehow because I need my savings really for life and food and shopping and my next sort of steps. Anyway, I was filling up the car that he was about to take off me with petrol on the forecourt, and the guy from the garage runs out. He said, oh, Claire, the finance has all gone through. This is literally 2 minutes after he submitted it. And I was thinking, oh my God, it's going to take a week. I'm sweating. Oh, what loops am I going to jump through? Oh my God, I'm going to have to use all my savings for a car. And he comes running out and he's like, Claire, the finance has all gone through. I said, what? He said, yeah, you've only got £100 deposit and it's only going to cost you £200 a month to finance this car. Like, bearing in mind, it's literally a brand new Mini. I was like, how? What? That's so cheap. Oh my God. He was like, yeah, your old primary school friend Dale Phillips has saw it's you and he's just put it through for you. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. The chances of me knowing
yeah,
somebody from primary school working in the finance department
it's
without...
amazing.
Yeah, he did no checks. He just put my
Yeah.
whole thing through. So it was £100 deposit and £200 a month. So I gave the car back to my ex and had a lovely new car that was costing me barely anything to have. So
And
then
isn't
when I...
that amazing? Because you
Yes.
had a similar experience when you found that cottage that you were renting, and you were keeping your fingers crossed that that would go through.
Well,
Because again,
again,
you're in
yes.
employment.
So
Yeah.
I got the car. I've done this in the wrong order. So I got the car, and then I decided to go on holiday with the boys, and just me and the children. Like, I'm thinking, I don't want them to not have a family holiday because me and their father have split up. So I'm going to be really brave and take these two little children on holiday all by myself on an aeroplane. And my anxiety and stress, but I thought I don't want to miss out. So I just got on holiday, and my business partner at the time popped back to my house because we'd sold a really beautiful amethyst crystal online on the website.
Was it to me?
Possibly. So she was like, because the majority of the crystals at that point were in my house. So she drove over on her lunch break to collect this big, massive amethyst so she could send it off to the customer. As she got there was a locksmith drilling the door.
Oh,
Yes, so my ex realised I'd gone on holiday with the children and used that as an opportunity to lock me out of the house.
wow.
Yeah, so he was like,
Wow.
right, he didn't want to pay for the mortgage while I was living in it because he wanted me to pay him rent to live there with his children. This is literally
Brilliant.
only a few months of us breaking up, so he expected me to, within a few months of breaking up, magically have a really successful career, be able to look after the children because all he was prepared to do is have them every other weekend, but only if he
Really.
wasn't playing rugby. If he was playing rugby, he'd have to arrange the weekends for the next weekend. So never even allowed me any routine or structure to work. It was all on his terms. So he wanted me to not pay me any maintenance, not pay for the house, not give me a car, and not even look after the children, but expected me to be able to heal my broken heart from all the trauma and seeing him cheating, have a
Yeah.
successful career, my own home, car, and childcare sorted out.
But then, I mean,
So my business partner was at the house, luckily just got there in time, was like, what's going on? And the locksmith was like, well, the owner of the house has told me that there's squatters here. And she was like, well, no, it's clearly lived in, and it's his partner, ex-partner of his children. So she
Yeah.
barricaded herself in the house, rang
Oh
me.
my
I was
God.
hysterical because all my crystal business and all my belongings are in the house. And if he locks me out, how am I going to get all my things? And the next day, Teo would start to school. So I needed his uniform when we arrived back. And I was like, oh my God, this is the worst nightmare. And I'm in Ibiza at this point with the children, so I can't even do anything. Luckily, my brother went round. My dad had to step in. My uncle had to come round and put a new lock on the door because they drilled through the door, the lock. So we had to quickly put a new lock on. And every day that I had to have somebody at the house in case they tried to do it again and again and again until I got home. And then they had to hide the keys for me so that when I arrived in the middle of the night, I could get into the house.
It's crazy.
So this is why the panic of me renting the cottage. But again, I had no income. So how
Yeah.
was I going to put on paper afford the cottage?
But
And it
don't
all
you
went
find it,
through.
I know,
Huh?
I mean, it's crazy, but don't you find it interesting that had you not had that relationship and had you not had maybe the upbringing you had, you would have gone a different direction. I mean, it made your relationship put fire in your belly to be like to
Independent
achieve
and
more,
successful.
yeah, to be successful and to earn money. You thought that if that happened, that he would love you more, he would respect you more, he would value you more, he would treat you as an equal. And so you put all your energy into being the person that you thought he wanted, and then he went and did what he did anyway. And
Yeah,
it was like a big fu because he did it in such a dramatic way. It was like you could never have been good enough, you could never have been
exactly.
the person that you wanted. But look what came out of it. That's magic. The person that you are now, the person that you have made and you have grown and you have
Yes,
nurtured, came out of something dark. So the light came out of the darkness. And I
it
think that's a
did.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is. It's. I think we all have this inner strength within us, and I think when you're faced with difficulty and challenges, you can either decide to let that happen to you, or you can fight against it. And then, as you're fighting against it, you grow into a magical, powerful, independent woman.
Yeah.
And we all have that ability within us. It's just your decision whether you, because I could have completely been ended up in like a hostel or had no car. I could have felt like I was defeated and I couldn't cope and I do because I,
Yes.
I
To
can't understand.
undermine you.
Yeah, I think he would have taken great pleasure at the time in that of me being defeated, but I thought,
Yeah.
no, I can't for my children. I can't allow that. I've got to be strong. I've got to provide a home for them to feel safe and happy. And so, yeah, I just fought and grafted and worked 24/7 to
Yeah.
get it all to where it is now.
But did you feel alone during any of that time, or did you feel like you had angels, guardian angels, whatever you want to call them, your brother, your grandfather? Did you feel they were on the journey with you, helping you,
Yes,
guiding you?
I do. Even people now say they can't believe that I achieved it and how I did it and what how I juggled two children, a breakup, moving house, setting up a business. How did you do that all on your own? Like
Yeah.
something magical was with you, supporting you and guiding you and holding your hand through it because it's just. I know women do it. I'm not saying I'm the only one that's had heartbreak and had to rebuild their whole life, but I feel like there's not many women that have it like. But now
All
I
at once.
do hear. I do hear a lot of this story now. At the time, I
Yeah.
felt like it was only me. I felt like it's only me that this has happened to. I didn't know anyone that had such a crazy traumatic breakup and had been subjected to the absolute financial abuse because that's what it
Yeah.
was. I think that's only sort of came out now, but to not give me any support financially and help me with, you know what he said to me as well. He said, "Well, if you can't afford somewhere for the children to live, they can always come and live with me." And I think that was the ultimate
Yeah.
ignition because I was thinking, you really want to see me with nothing and even take my children away from me. How
Oh,
cruel. So that when you feel like you can't, when you push to that limit, you will do anything, won't you, to keep your children and your life. So yeah, just
absolutely. You find a strength you didn't know you had. But,
yes,
what I find interesting is that we all have the answers within us. It's just a
yes,
matter of finding it.
yes.
So, had you had a relationship with him that continued and it continued the same, you wouldn't have been valuing yourself. You wouldn't have been feeling your power. And because
I
he
wouldn't
would
be
have
a
squashed,
I was a shadow of this person I am now.
yes,
I
yes.
was
And
I
thank
was
goodness that you are who you are. And thank
yeah,
goodness that he was who he was, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't
no,
be in your power.
exactly. I'd be a shell of myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned there was some magic regarding conceiving one of your children as well.
Oh, yes. So,
Did you have
oh, so he was cheating on me again on this occasion,
oh
but
my
again,
goodness.
he was like, no, no, you've got it all wrong. It's wrong. So I was like, and I was so in love and didn't want this to be my life and situation. So I obviously believed love is blind. Um,
Yes.
and I was like, okay. And I could just sense it, and I knew. But I had severe diarrhea, like literally, when you're so heartbroken and upset. And the pill that I was on obviously was just flushing straight through me, and I got pregnant. But I thought, because I took the pill every day, that this would not happen. And I
Yeah.
had such excruciating pain, and I thought I was dying. And I remember collapsing on the kitchen floor, but I just started a new job. And I was like, well, I can't ring in sick, and I'm never sick, I'm never ill. And I was on the floor, like, passing out, but if I had to try to get Teo dressed for primary school, I was rushing to get him ready for breakfast club. My ex had already left for work, and I had to get in the shower, do all my hair, makeup, look switched on and professional, and drove into London. I worked in Covent Garden then, and went to work, and came home, did it all for about another week, kept on going, just thinking it's something in my own head, I'm fine. I think because of my upbringing as well, my parents never allowed me to be ill. I had no sympathy growing up, no days
Mm.
off. It was always, you're fine, get up and go. So even to this day, I'm not sure if I feel ill or not because I've never been allowed to be ill. Anyway, a week later, I'm really struggling now, really like passing out, and then I had all of this blood. I thought, oh, my period's come. And I was like, right. Somebody said to me, Claire, do a pregnancy test. I was like, well, I'm not pregnant. We'll just do a pregnancy test. Did a pregnancy test. He said I was pregnant, but I was bleeding, literally hemorrhaging. This was so much blood. Went to the doctors, got into the doctors, and she said, oh, she prodded around my tummy. She said, I think you're having an ectopic pregnancy. What? I didn't have a
Mhm.
clue what that was then. Got home. My ex come home from work, and he was like, we need to get you to the hospital. The doctor said, go straight to the hospital. Got there, and because I'd had a shower, blow dried my hair, put a nice outfit on, perfume, when I got to the waiting room, they left me there because I looked normal, didn't I? Just like, oh yeah, I'm fine, just having a slight ectopic pregnancy, we think. Somebody else was in much more need, somebody else was in much more need and agony and pain, and because I control it and don't show any pain, they just thought I was fine. Anyway, they did an internal and said, oh right, yeah, this is happening. You're fifth to be seen and to be scanned. The ultrasound woman was just about to go home and she said, well, I'll do this last one. So I'm there till 9 o'clock at night now from the morning. And
Mhm.
when she did the ultrasound on me, she said, right, you need a gown on and some socks and you've got to go straight down to surgery. And I'd had 2 litres of blood in my stomach and I was internally bleeding and the fallopian tube ruptured. So I nearly died. Can you believe that? And I was
Wow.
just sitting in the waiting room, just that's fine. And had she had gone home, I'd have waited till the morning to see me. I'd have died in the night. They said that.
Wow.
I know. So that was a miracle that happened. But then I lost the tube, and they said you might never conceive again because if you ovulate from your right fallopian tube, well, there's no tube there, so you won't fall pregnant. But I did, so that's a miracle that I had Hudson.
Yeah.
So there's two
Amazing.
miracles. Is that two miracles in one?
I
That
think I think we've done at least three.
yeah, that no, that I stayed alive, and
Yes.
Hudson. There's two miracles there.
Y-
Guardian angels by my side.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your brother died when you were young, and also your grandfather, who you were very, very close to,
Yes,
um, he also died when you were quite young, about the age of, how old were you? About eight, something like
yes,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
8 and 9.
Oh,
Both of them died quite close, and so did
yeah. And
my.
sorry, and tell me about the conversation that you had with your grandfather, because
Oh,
he was very ill and he knew
yes.
that his time was almost up.
Yes, he was really ill, and I think I brought him back to life for a few years because I used to go and stay with him for the whole summer holidays, and then he'd have to cook for me and grill me toast in front of the fire holding a fork because he couldn't really move and he couldn't walk very far, and he'd have to stand at the bottom of the stairs while I had a bath because his house was so scary and I was so petrified. So I was like, stay at the bottom of the stairs. So he could talk to me because he couldn't even manage to walk up the stairs. So he had a nebulizer and oxygen and medicine to breathe, and he was like, I've had enough of this life, I'm ready to, they could just take me, I could just go, I've got no life. I'm like, Granddad, don't say that. And it was the first experience of me hearing somebody just saying, I'm ready to die, I want to die.
Yeah.
I can't breathe, I can't live, I can't eat, all of that. We went through all of that. I said, so I, after about 2 years, I was like, okay, if you're gonna die, can you be my angel and stay with me? And I don't even know why I thought to say that then. And I was like, I like almost had a list for him to help me achieve. And I remember being 8 and thinking, I just need a driving license. All I wanted to do through my teenage years was drive a car and feel
Mm.
empowered. And because not many people I knew that in those days drove and had a car where I was from. So I felt like I need a car, I need to drive, I need to have this independence. So I said, please help me pass my driving test. But then I quickly thought, I need good GCSEs or a good something to get the car. So I ended up like all of this list you've got to help me with. So I believe to this day that he's here helping me with all of these things. And sometimes when things are not going wrong, I'm like, Grandad, can you pull something out of the bag here?
But you would actually say to him in the moment, when it comes time for my driving test, can you
Oh,
help me? While
yes,
he
I
was
speak
still
to
alive.
him
So you
daily.
put all your wishes in ahead
Yes,
of time,
yes, I
and
am.
he
Remember,
will help
Grandad?
me, won't he?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Daily. Crystals. This is like my life is quite crazy because I speak to my granddad, the universe, and the moon in my head.
Brother.
Yes, daily. Although
Yeah.
there's parts of me that wish that my brother did. Now I said to you, I feel a bit guilty keep calling on him because I'm like, really, do you deserve to have your own life? And I feel a bit mean keeping you trapped, being my angel if you need to go off and do something else. So I think like
Yes.
he pops back and forth into my life now. But I feel like
Yeah.
my granddad is always with me because I said to you, like angels don't know time, whereas
Yeah.
we're on this earth for like 100 years, so it seems like a long time. But for an angel watching over you, it's like watching a TV show. It's that quick. So then I'm like,
Yeah.
don't feel guilty that they're with me and being my guardian angel. They're okay. It's just a quick show for them.
Yeah, but I find it so extraordinary hearing your stories that you have the upbringing and this experience, and you have this inner strength and this resilience, and really what matters to you most, what really has formed you most, is your need for stability at any cost. You want stability. You want a happy life for your children. You want um to just know that you've got it, that all by yourself, you're running everything, you're paying every bill, everything. And there is this, to people that don't know you, you come across as, like,
A
careful.
fairy.
You're like this wonderful warm bubble of energy, but there's this steeliness inside you, this real like grit, those roots from the Midlands, that kind of feeling of, I'm going to do this, I will do this, I'm going to pull it out the bag, no matter what it takes, and
Yeah.
I am going to give my children the, it doesn't matter that fate threw me these cards. I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to make damn sure that their life is going to be brilliant no matter what. And that's what you've
Yes.
done. And I
Yes.
think that is amazing.
Thank you. I know it. I feel like this is cliche when people say it's all for my children, but you get to this age and that is your like driving force. That's your. I think you asked me like, what's my motivation? What's my inspiration, aspiration? And
Yes.
it is everything is for my children. You have to keep going. You have because they didn't do anything wrong. They're
No.
not their fault, and I don't want them to grow because I do believe how your children how they are brought up and their upbringing has a massive impact for the rest of their life. So I have to
Completely.
give them a great foundation so that they have the best opportunities and chances in life and they're not
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally scarred. So I'm like
Well,
everything has
yeah. They pick up on our energy as well. So
yes.
if we're struggling, like and you can't hide it when you're emotional. It's hard to
Yes.
mask the emotion. They
Yeah.
pick up on it. So
Yeah.
to be showing them that first of all, it's okay. Life does throw you punches.
Yes, that's
Um,
what I try to teach them that there is.
yeah,
It's how you react, and I think I did. I was never taught that myself. If you react calmly, collectively, and it's a difficult one because sometimes when your heart's involved, you don't know logic, and
yes,
it is difficult. So I've learned all of that over the last like 8 years. I've been really emotional because I've been vulnerable and hurt, but I just try now to teach them that if like for my big boy, if a girl doesn't respond to his message, like it's okay, darling, you've got mummy can make you a hot chocolate and we've got a cozy blanket and go and put your heated blanket on and I try to soften the blow and teach him that if your foundation is okay, you can cope with anything. If your home
yeah,
life is if you're strong, if you've got a roof over your head, you're warm, you've got food in your tummy, you can cope with anything. You've got your
yeah,
mum's love and your brother here and your pets. Nothing outside can really affect you. But I don't feel like I had that when I was going through all my troubles. I didn't have a home or a base or somewhere to feel safe and secure and just re-energize and recoup. So now that's why it is really important. Because my star sign's Cancerian, I need that shell and that home to
yeah.
rejuvenate and just to recharge my batteries when I've had such a battering. So
You know,
that's why,
there's a meditation where you throw everything into a bonfire. You visualize a big bonfire in front of you, and then you throw first of all like all your belongings, like everything, your house, your clothes, everything that you're sentimental about. You then throw in everyone that you're close to. You throw in any disagreements you've had. Basically, you throw in everything, lock, stock, and barrel into the fire, and then you're left completely just your spirit. You don't even have a body. You have no connection with how you look, anything. You're just your spirit. And the meditation is to make you free. It frees you from everything. And I think that a big bloody bonfire,
yeah,
everything within,
real life one. I didn't have to visualize it. It happened.
but you had nothing. You had absolutely nothing. And
Crystals and my angels.
yeah, and here you are today, and you are looking out. You are self-sufficient. You have a home for your kids. Your kids are happy, healthy, and like you say, it's like like before I go to bed every night, I go through my gratitude list and I think about all the things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my boyfriend. I'm grateful for the home that I have that gives me shelter and warmth and safety. I'm grateful for my children and that they're happy. I'm grateful for health, all these things. And they're not things that, I mean, a home costs money, but the rest of it, it's not. It's more than that. But it's like when you strip it all away, what's important, the strength in within ourselves. I think that is our empowerment to however we do it. That is the magic. Finding that within us is the most beautiful thing. And
It is.
then
That's a lottery, isn't it?
yeah, then it's for our children. Our children then have the benefit of that example, and they can see that okay, that might have happened, and they know, like for example, about things that happened to me in the past, and they understand that life is sometimes difficult, but this is one way you can deal with it,
You
and
show teaching them that you can cope and you can overcome and you can survive and you'll be happy again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we should wrap up, but before we
Yes.
do, this
Yes.
is the box of magic,
Yes.
and I am going to grant you 3 wishes. So, what are you going to wish for from the box of magic, Claire? Yes?
Happiness
Yes?
and wealth, please.
Okay, it's yours. Well, it's already yours. It's
Yes,
already
that's
yours.
what I
Well,
want to keep with me, those 3 things.
amazing. Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I absolutely love talking to you.
And
And
you
thank
too.
you
Thank
for
you for having me.
sharing and telling everyone your story. And
Part of my
I,
story. That was like
it was
40
just a
years.
little,
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it to half an hour, but never mind.
Thank you so
But
much.
thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do like, share, and get involved in the comments. See you for more magic next week. Bye.